Welcome to Reality Check. It's another week, and as promised, we have another conversation on this channel where we care for hearts and minds. Welcome to the show. My name is Rachael. I'm your host. I have two very special people back again with me, and we are going to be talking about men and readiness for marriage. I can hear the women saying hallelujah. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you join the Reality Check family. And those of you who are already members, welcome back to the show. Remember to leave your comment, like this episode, and of course share it with someone who might find it useful. So like I said, already said who I am. I'm going to introduce the people I'm going to be having this conversation with. To my left is Dr. Evas Atwine, who is the founder of International Center for Mental Health and Family Care. She's also a marriage therapist, relationship coach, a parenting coach, and also supports workplace mental health, mental health related challenges. And then we also have another regular, Mr. David Kabiswa, who you have grown to love, and because you love him, we said you need to come back and talk to the people, right? So he's a regular and he's also a realist, which kind of fits what we're trying to do here, right? Reality check, realist. So he's back again with us. Welcome, David.
Thank you very much,
It's good to have
Glad
you.
to be here.
Yeah, It's been a minute, but you are back now. So welcome to both of you. Like I mentioned, we are going to be talking about men and readiness for marriage. And since we have a man on set who is married, I figured let him start by telling us, how did he know he was ready for marriage?
Thank you very much, Rachel. I looked at the question and I said, okay, ready. Just said, go.
Go.
Yeah. I mean, and what I mean by that is that I don't think there's any particular indicator that shows that men are ready. There is none like that. And I'm thinking that way because they're not wired that way to think that now I'm ready, let's go and jump, okay? And that's why when I saw the question, I kind of first thought, when did I know I was ready? For me, and you see what I also think, it depends on people's values. Sure. Now the Christian men quietly have a chronology that I'm going to do this, I'm going to get, I'm going to get into, after finish school, I'm going to graduate. Then the right thing to do is to get married, start a family, honor God. And a lot of it is because they will keep away, or they keep away from premarital sexual contact. So for them, part of the reason of getting married is to, basically do things right, as I would say. Or for them who have been, it's better to marry than to burn. There's even a scripture, burn passion, which tells us that. So but one of the things I did consider was the ability to financially take care of myself and the person that I was going to marry. Okay. Once I got a job, and that for me nowadays meant get a job. And once I got a job, that was it. Now, I also know that there are many who even had maybe even things like 4 times that I was earning and stuff like that, but they did not feel ready to marry. So therefore, I cannot say it is money. Neither can I say, but I know part of it, those that I'm talking about are not born again. So they're going to have maybe sexual contacts here and there. And then there are others who also feel, I need to be sure that the one I got is the real one. Yeah. So for me, and for many Christian people, and I'm speaking from that context, that they feel that they're ready when they've got a job, and to honor God, they start a family so that they can raise godly offspring. For the others, I've heard a lot from the work that I do, but we'll talk a lot about it along the way.
Dr. Evas, what gave you the confidence to say yes to your husband?
You've come for me.
I've come for you.
Yeah. So I saw commitment. We were both young. I was actually looking at my photos last night and I was like, you guy. But we are 4 years apart, and he wasn't any older than me. But he was so committed. He gave me the confidence that he knew what he wanted, and he was ready to invest in it. And so we dated from university, and after 1 year following graduation, we got married. But by that time, as I knew that because he had a sense of, I want to start a family, I want to, I know the person I want to marry, and don't worry, he has had to figure out a number of things along the way. But honestly, commitment. But also care. You know, women, we love to be cared for. Care. I was working already. I started working while I was still at university. I did short, small-time jobs. But still, you know, he could, you know, the little, he was also doing a few things. But, you know, this man thing that I have to care for the woman I love. Yeah, and I just saw that, and it was very beautiful. What else? I think really those. I felt like he was ready to start family and be responsible, and he loved children as well. So we were having conversations around children, and I love children. I loved children so much. So it also gave me the confidence that this was someone ready to take responsibility, not just to zone in and zone out. That gave me confidence he was ready for marriage.
I like that you talk about sensing commitment on his part, and I guess for him demonstrating commitment, which brings me to my next question to both of you. Men, and since you're here, you can correct me if I'm wrong in my assumption, are generally known to struggle with commitment. I think you talked about having a man in a scenario where it's like, I know I want to settle, but I want to be sure that this is the one. Almost like I want to make sure I've exhausted all my options, and this for real is the one. Would you say then that fear is a sign that they are not ready?
I thank God that you said that I'm a realist, so we're going to talk. Yeah. You see, this thing of commitment is like a box, all right? And different people come to it at different levels. She saw, and what I'm hearing from Evas' situation, the husband was focused. Right, quite early in life, she started from university, he was focused, and he knew where he was going, all right? I knew I loved my wife, and for me, any decision, first of all, how I took decisions, if I was getting close to anybody. One, how they talked about their parents. Two, how they treated the people like waiters and waitresses. Because I felt that reveals who you are. All right? If I bring it into today's generation, too many girls know how to do the movie thing. Too many boys know how to do the movie thing. So very many of them think that they're ready when they're really not ready. It's just the excitement of. All right? So the commitment thing, what is in that commitment? I was looking up something, and they said that some men fear to commit because of how they grew up in their homes. If they had a domineering mother, all right, they have struggles. There's a young man I've been helping. He's in DRC Congo. He's called me very many times. We're going to, you know, one time I even, you know, got to talk with his girlfriend. So there's this day that we knew he's going to, he kept telling me, but you know, mom, you know, I said, mom, your mom is my friend. We will handle. I waited for his call. I waited for his call. All right? It's 3 months down the road. 2 months down the road, I sent him a WhatsApp. I said, man, we've been doing this thing. Silence. Yeah. What happened? The girl was ready. Even told me she's into agriculture and stuff like that, you know. What's that thing of fear? It can be triggered by very many things. Okay? There are some people, even their own history, if they've been, let me say, a player, to use the contemporary words, he's thinking, will this be the right person for me? And I think sometimes also men, what they look for in marriage is really not family. It's not committing to you. So I think also sometimes we look at it from a different angle. Some people are looking at a favorite. Will I have unending sexual, gratification? A man came to me as way older than me. We're helping him at a certain church church. Said, pick this one. He said, that's the one I want. Then the guy told me, but this one I've been with and I know. I said, what do you mean? She's sexually fire. Okay. So why doesn't he marry this? Why is he going here? Yeah. Because the church wanted him and the church had told him this is a better partner. He went, he's committed, he had the money, many years later, they're still together. But I also found out the other one that he had left many years later, let no man get, how animals do susu around there and they mark territory. He marked his territory. And I suspect, born again, and I suspect that he kept basically going back. Fear says very many things. It says very many things. But I think also sometimes fear is an excuse. It's an excuse. If somebody wants to marry, they will marry. But they need to have certain things in place. Fear says very many things. Even sometimes the guy's own self-rejection that, will I be able to? I did have a kind of fear, like I told you earlier. Will I be able to financially, look after this person? Because I used to visit them at home. I saw the number of things they eat on the table. I thought, I said, they like, so there's a kind of pressure. Yeah. So fear is just a symptom, and for many men, I would just say, if you get that kind of fear, it is pushing you, look deeper. Look deeper. What could be happening? Yeah, what could be happening inside? Yeah.
Yeah, so your question was about...
Is fear an indicator that somebody is not?
I'll speak as a psychologist. Fear is part of our lives. And fear is just a reminder that we are human. But we have to identify what is causing fear. I think that's the most important thing. And especially fear in relation to starting a family. Because we are talking about readiness for marriage. So the confidence, usually confidence comes from knowledge and understanding of our responsibility in everything. And so when we are talking about men being ready and then fear that they are not ready, it comes from so many things. And I want to talk about parental nurturing of men for readiness for marriage, or men, preparing men for marriage. You see, parenting is a big thing. Parental nurturing, if you allow me to smuggle in how the differences in parenting, how we parent, for instance, girls, and prepare them for marriage and family life. Simple things, simple questions like, what kind of wife are you going to be? You think when you get married, you're going to treat your husband that way, even when we are still very little. There is a tendency to prepare girls for marriage, and I think we talked about this before we got on air. So let me bring it in. That means a lot. You see, when we are parenting, we are basically preparing children for adult life. I always ask parents in my parenting coaching sessions whether they have an idea who they are preparing, because this child is not going to be your child forever. This is not your baby. As moms, we are in the habit of saying, oh, you're old, but you're still my baby. But you see, we are prepared. When we are nurturing children, we have to have an end in mind. And so when we are preparing children, we are preparing the next CEOs, we are preparing the next pastors, we are preparing wives and husbands, we are preparing, workers, employees and employers and all. And so this is important to have in mind. Now, going back to preparing both boys and girls for marriage, there is a problem. There is a problem. There are certain things that we do intentionally, and we are able to know that this girl, I just go back to how we were, like the questions my mom would ask me, is that how you answer? Is that how you talk to your husband? Some of those things. And those are powerful, powerful. That's perspective shaping. Now, going back to our boys, I think David, in one of the sessions we had here, I remember we talked about it. We leave the boys to play, but we are not preparing them for the big function of family and family management, and as we don't see that in them. So they play, they keep playing. We say, boys are just playing. You know, they're just playing. And then we say, when they are of age, come and marry. That's terrible. So that readiness has to happen right from parental nurturing. And honestly, if I have to say one thing today, that's what I will say. Because parents need to see boys as future husbands. So there is no equivalent question of what kind of husband are you going to be.
No, it's not there.
It's not there.
Neither is there the question, is that how you answer your wife?
No.
That one is not.
Nothing.
I mean,
nothing.
It's not
Is
there.
that how you're going to treat your wife?
It's not
Nothing.
there.
Is that how... Now, it just reminds me of a boy in my circle who always took pride in, me, I don't touch children. I don't touch little children. Yeah, that's not my place. And I was waiting to see when he got married and got children.
Yeah. Did you remind him?
Do you... Yes, I did. Oh, you can be sure of that. But you see, do you know that boys are not prepared, for instance, to be good dads? Nothing. And when we talk about readiness for marriage, what does marriage come with? So this whole platform where they are going to perform a very, very important role, they are not prepared for it. And to be honest with you, if this is not research, I'm a researcher. But just using my crude means, I'll tell you, if I asked parents, very few, very, very few will have looked at their sons from the standpoint of family leadership, good dads, good husbands. Now, if you asked, for instance, a mom to define a good husband for their son, they wouldn't have it, nor would their dads. So it is a very big problem. And so shaping these children to be there. Now, going back to your question, to answer it now, Rachel, is to say, any person who feels unprepared is going to be fearful. Fear, most of the time, is rooted in lack of preparedness. Lack of preparation, lack of skill. So if they called you, David, and they say, come and speak to this group, you probably wouldn't be worried. Because you do it all the time. You know, you can wake me up from sleep and I will still talk to people. You know? But then, how about they asked you to do something else? So anything that someone hasn't been prepared for, hasn't practiced, hasn't, you know, they're going to, every time they get in there, their hearts are going to skip a beat. So that's where it's rooted.
But of course, you know, there's no exam.
No.
We come from an exam-based culture and stuff like that. You know that when you're into all these marriage situations, should anything go wrong, you know what even culture tells the woman. They ask you, what did you do wrong? So it's almost like that's the person who seems, in a sense, to get an exam. The guy doesn't.
He does not.
And when you call about this preparation, they have told us your role is to provide.
That's all they have told.
Basically. And you don't learn provision from the home. So where the guys actually get their training is on the football field. It would be amazing. They think that we get a lot of training from the sports because you learn how to win, you learn how to lose. So in short, you learn how to fight and go get. So any training in a home, forgive me, I grew up in a family of only boys. Any training in the home is basically, let me call it feminine. Me, I know how to sweep. And for me, you could not sweep better than me. Of course, I also like eggs. So those things I could also cook and stuff like that. But it's amazing. The moment you get into a marriage situation for long enough, you retreat.
Yeah. What's that about?
I mean, I don't know. I was about to say it's DNA, but I don't know. You tell us. You kind of retreat. It's almost like some people retreat, I know, because there are some women, have they been socialized as well? You don't come into the kitchen. You don't trust me. By coming to the kitchen, they're showing that you don't trust me. Some people have been socialized that way. Others have been socialized that, like I was helping some guy just a couple of weeks ago, they got married. He's a very practical Christian guy. He's helping on this, cleaning up, washing. Then one morning, he gets this statement and said, hey, you haven't washed the plates. The guy was in shock. So I told him, you've got to talk about it. Because you see, in these marriage roles, we don't talk. No, what he demonstrated made the person take as an expectation. Researchers have also shown that the woman's the never-ending to-do list, but also if she's delegated, sometimes she's delegated for forever. So you've got to talk. So now the person is saying, and the way she spoke also, the guy said, hey, you have not washed. So how can we communicate? Yeah.
But do you see how all this is rooted in how we've been nurtured?
Both nurtured and also culture.
Yes, of
like
course.
in the Vagisu, I think for them, they tell them how to, they prepare them. Those people have circumcision. They actually prepare their people better for that role. A man does this, a man defends, a man does that. I don't know if it's the same for pastoralists, but I think the Vagisu and also the people in Kabarole, they tell them, because now that's even the Masai, and I think even the Karamajong. So for them, they've got a definite crossover point. Other cultures don't.
They don't.
They're telling the girl, they're telling the girl, they're telling the girl, they're telling the boy, so that the message is sending that you're a natural, you know these things. And the guy knows, if I can perform well sexually, what more do you want?
Right.
And that's why the guys who are loose, that's what they're practicing.
Yeah, so it's frustrating.
It can get frustrating.
You see,
I hear you, but sometimes that's how the men are. If I can give the money, make a man, don't make a man a woman.
Okay.
I heard that from a certain preacher, Mark Ganga, when he's talking about marriage, doing marriage counseling, and he says that when you ask a woman to define a good man, when you've looked at the list, they've defined a woman, all right? So even now, I'll be very careful, how do you train a guy? Like when you look at animals, how the dogs fight, how the cats fight, how they socialize. Can we get appropriate socialization for the guys? Because I think what I have sensed sometimes is that in the non-believing world, the Christian man is perceived as a weak man. All right? The woman is proud of this guy, but in the world out there, he actually has no space really. And I think that's where the challenge comes. How do you create a guy who's a go-getter, but at the same time is a mixture of being tough and being gentle and polite?
That's right.
All right? For us, as I told you, only boys. We knew how to do all these domestic things at home. But as for boys, we're completely different. Some of us who stayed around my mom most, and I think that's what even many women like, we learned how to do conversation. You converse and she's happy and you're supposed to be... Man, you don't take that the other side. They're also looking at you as a man who's in the chupa. Have you had those sorts of expressions? Yes. The man has been put in a bottle. So, when you're preparing this child to be a good husband, for who? He's going to get, I've been interacting with the two of you, all right? The socio-economic status that we represent here might not be the one that the child is going to get married to. This guy is thorough, guy in the church, whatever. The woman comes from in a slightly lower social class, but when the guy did the roles, she took she interpreted it to mean that she's in charge.
Yeah.
So it's almost like to prepare a good guy, a good child. One, you've got to have abilities to talk about life in general. Yeah. Okay, you've got to have abilities to talk, abilities to interpret what the children see. All right, and ability to know and to differentiate that even to help them know their social privileges and stuff like that, and how they fit with the others. Yeah. I told you that for me, what I'd look for in a woman was how she interacted with anybody, as it with the what I'd call the list of these, the guards, the waitresses and waitresses. Now, to me and my family, it was important that our daughter in any school should learn how to greet.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. And I remember one time going to some school and they said, they're trying to describe that one, no, that one who greets people. And I overheard.
Wow.
So for me, it is important. Yeah. If somebody can do that, they'll love they'll do well in life. But we've got to train them to be confident in who they are, not necessarily what they deliver. Okay. But I know that from the counseling rooms, I've known certain women who have been told, he doesn't deliver, you don't give.
Respect.
All right? Respect even conjugal rights. Yeah. So conjugal rights are conditional. And then should give to, Christians, but they're struggling. Because that's how they've kind of been socialized. So for me, talk, evaluate, train them in some of the basic chores, but train them to fit into lives. In the early days, we'd go to places like Katanga. My children needed to see that there are people who are different from us. And you never look down upon them, but oh yeah. And I'm thinking that once you've done that, they will handle. For a boy, anything more than that in the home, I would say, be careful. Yeah, you're going to get a weak guy. Hi. I mean, but that's what Evas.
David,
don't have those hands.
David, I'm going to come for you.
Come for me.
Okay, so no, I hear you. Let me just take it back to preparing men and not running the risk of making them women. I know one of the biggest fears of men is to be women or to look like
Correct.
women.
Correct.
The biggest fear.
Yeah.
And it's just a misconception, and I'll tell you why. You see, when we say preparation of someone, it's in line with the roles and functions they will play. So when we are preparing girls, you see the kind of things we do in a subtle way, but it's actually big preparation. Very rarely do you see a young little girl, rather a little boy, being made to carry a baby on their back. Where does this come from? So what happens when young boys are growing? They are riding bikes, they are doing all manner. Their toys are even different. There's a lot of psychology in that. The men are taught to, to be in charge, be in control. And this is powerful, David, because you see, their role in a family is leadership. And sometimes I really worry for men, and I feel sorry for them because I think they've been confused. They've been confused. They are told, don't do this, you're not here, you're not there, and then they're just confused. But then they are told, you are a leader in the family, but you're not preparing a leader in the family. And please, Rachel, remind me, I want to give you scripture. So in case I talk and forget, please tell me. You see, we are telling men, you're the leader, you're the head of that family. Who is preparing this boy to be a head in their family, in their day-to-day operations? I want to tell you, David, any leader, any unprepared leader is a weak leader. And I feel sorry for men because we have set them up, but we haven't prepared them. And so we have given them this whole message of, this is your home. But how have we prepared them to have their home? And it's their home.
Yes.
It's their home.
Yeah.
This is not up for debate.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, any woman in the right skin expects their husband to be a leader in the family. Like this is, you don't need a manual. But then what kind of preparation is there?
So who?
So I'm coming. Now, they have roles like leadership and authority in the home. We had a whole conversation about the role of men and dads in a family. Leadership, this is their thing. Even a woman in their lives is looking for a leader. And if you are unprepared, you're going to lead from behind. And we are seeing this happening. And it is so sad that we shouldn't impair our boys and sons and husbands in such a way, because that's why we are having men lose confidence. Because and when they bump into a woman who is merciless, they're going to ask them, what kind of man are you? Because they are looking at a leader who can take decisions, a leader who has no planning, a leader who they ask what is the vision of our family, they have no idea, a leader who, what kind of leader are they? And why aren't we intentional about supporting our boys instead of saying, yes, you're the girl, yes, you. That's okay, the courage and all, that's part of it. But how about this important role? Do you know and David have been in platforms or spaces where we all agree that everything rises and falls on leadership. Leadership is an important function of a man in a family. So it doesn't stop at a wedding, you splash this, you've provided, you have money. But what is the direction of your family? So that is important. That's important. That's something that whoever, whether society that we're talking about or family we are talking about, has to prepare this boy and say, by the way, when you get in a family, you're going to be this. So you're going to be the head of this marriage. Number two, the provision. This provision, which has been hijacked into finances only, again, it touches on leadership and strategic thinking and having a vision, but also provision, right? Now we have a group of, we have a category of men, especially who are moms, boys, mommy's boys.
Mommy's boys. Those ones are which ones?
So mommy's boys, every decision has to be consulted. You have to consult with mom. They cannot be independent. They have no courage. They can't stand on their own. And every decision, they don't feel confident. Do you see how we are impairing men and at the same time expecting so much from them? It's not fair. So this boy, all they know, it is mommy who makes the decisions. So even when they are married, they are running to mommy. The wife says, why don't we buy a plot? Let me ask mommy. Are we going to have children? I have to ask mommy. You know, everything. Mommy's boys. By the way, that's a category of boys we are having now. And some of the moms, and I want to speak to moms, if you are a mom that is doing this, it's not nice. Rachel, you asked about moms, that's what I'm going to give you. So these are boys that can't stand on their own. Thirdly, morals, character. Character. You see, there are certain things that have seemed permissible and they don't seem universal for all human beings. So a woman should have moral stature, but a boy can just do anything. What you were talking about, have so many girls. So by the time they are going to get married, they don't even know who to marry. They have this one, they have a child. They have this one, they have this one. They're just confused. And so boys have been given this message that you can behave any way you want. And you're not subjected to the moral standard that governs everyone. But this is important for marriage. You see? So when they get into marriage, someone has an expectation they are going to be faithful, they can be trusted, they can. So in shaping the character of this boy, that is preparing them for marriage. Because ask me, I'm a therapist. Where do relationships fail? It's not on money only, it's on character. It's on the character that shapes the relationship. You know, the values. They have no standard, what we call a standard of right and wrong, a personal value system. You know, why do we think that men can just behave any way they want? And so in preparing our boys, what are we doing? And that value system is powerful. It is so powerful. Now, what happens when they get in? They are leaders. They have to be transparent with finances. They have to make certain decisions and all that. That is important. That's readiness for marriage. So any person who knows that they are getting, because marriage is a platform above the single life. So when you move from single life to marriage, you're judged against a higher standard of responsibility. How about responsibility? Now, you asked what I saw in my husband. I saw responsibility. I saw commitment. Most of them, they go together. But you see, he was ready to take on certain things. He was ready to, he makes decisions. Doesn't mean he finances everything. But he's saying, he's like, I think we need this. Up to today, we still plan. He says, I think we need this. I think we need to get this. How about this? You give him advice, he receives it. So how are we raising these boys? Because a leader has to listen to the people they lead. Now, is he ready for that? No. Does he get in and he has this inflated sense of self? And that's why most of them are narcissists. Because they've been told, you're a man, no one should listen, no, you should not listen to anyone. And so they are getting there and they are not okay. Rachel, can I give you scripture at this point? Now, you've heard people quote Proverbs 31 for women. And everyone talks about a virtuous. There's a Proverbs for men.
I think the rest of the scripture is about the
same Proverbs. I'm going to give you, this will shock everyone, because people quote Proverbs 31, which is called, they call it what?
virtuous woman.
A virtuous woman. But you see, we should raise virtuous men. And the same proverb talks about virtuous men and talks to moms especially. So I'm going to read Proverbs 31. Proverbs 31 from verse 1 to 9 is actually preparing a virtuous man.
A king like whatever,
Yes.
Lemur.
Listen, the sayings of King Lemuel, an oracle his mother taught him.
His mother.
His mother taught him.
Let's underline that one.
Okay. An oracle his mother taught him. So listen, verse 2. O my son, O son of my womb, O son of my vows. Actually, I was reading it with my son the other day, and the version I had says, O son of my prayers. Wow. Verse 3, do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. Do you hear that? It is not for kings, O Lemuel, not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer. Verse, still the same verse, lest they drink and forget what the Lord decrees. And deprive all the oppressed of their rights. And she goes on to say, give beer to those who are perishing, wine to those who are in anguish. And it goes on to say, verse 8, speak up for those that those cannot speak for themselves, the rights of the destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights. And then that's verse 9. Then verse 10 talks about a virtuous woman, a wife of noble character. But you see, if you wanted, this is describing a man, a young man of noble character.
Correct.
And I love verse 4 especially, where this mother says, it's not for kings. Now, I talked about how we set up boys as kings in their homes, and yet we don't tell them what is not for kings. So this woman is saying, don't do this. She's shaping character. She's talking about don't be immoral. Right? She's saying don't spend your strength on women, those who ruin kings. Because women are going to ruin you. And this is happening everywhere. You see, this woman is intentional. This is a mom that is intentional and is saying it's not for kings to do this. It's not for kings to talk like this. It's not for kings. And by the way, that speaks so much to how this woman is nurturing a young man, preparing them for kingship. Right? Now, we are talking kingship in family. And we are not preparing boys. So I would love to have a statement where we say, just the way we ask girls and say, you can't speak like that. How will? It's not for husbands, it's not for a good husband to do this. It's not for a king in a family to do this. And so it's not uncommon, David, in my work as a therapist, to have moms, especially, or parents, men don't even talk, but moms who defend their sons when they're doing dumb things. You see, that this boy has done very treacherous things towards their wife. And the mother is saying, but you see, for men, that's how they are. And so it's permissible for them to do dumb things, and then no one calls them out. But I want to tell you now that we are talking about preparing What are we even talking about? We've changed the topic. But I want to...
No, we are still there.
But we are talking about readiness.
Yes.
Because a person who, a man who is going to be ready for marriage needs to know that that level, you are a king and there are certain things you cannot do. You see, this is what the mom is breaking down for them. Speaking of humility, now, I was sharing with Rachel in one of the episodes that unfortunately, some of the men in this 21st century, and please note that I'm not talking as a feminist or I don't like those things. I'm just being a realist. In this 21st century, where now the relationship dynamics have changed, boys haven't realized that actually they need the skills, or they've realized that they need the skills, and they are angry because parents have not given them those relational skills that are important. What you talked about, conversation. We've run a session on depression in men. Do you know that one of the reasons why men are depressed is because they can't hold conversation? Conversation is one of the ways to cleanse. You know, we call it emotional cleansing. Being expressive and speaking up and marking, labeling your feelings, communicating, self-advocacy. Men cannot. So they've been told, you know, this woman, they talk so much, keep quiet. And so they haven't
For
been...
the sake of peace.
Yes, for the sake of peace, which is not there. We have to know that those things we called for women, they are actually universal. This man needs to negotiate in a relationship. How about if they have to utilize the resources of, or, you know, making sure that the resources in a family are used properly? How is this conversation going to happen? Conversation is very important. How about humility? Right? Asking for advice. Do you know how many men have been set up not to ask for advice, and now they realize they need to. They are operating in this world where the woman can really speak up, communicate well. They are leading this educated, empowered woman, and now the man is stuck. When he's been set up to believe that they are self-sufficient in their own way, they can't ask for advice, they can. How are they going to lead the family? Where is the whole concept of servant leadership? How are we making our sons ready to do that so that they can be great leaders in families? You see?
You were not joking when you said you were going to come for him.
Oh, did I?
And I am a man, I have handled.
Sorry,
Rachel,
David.
This is a very interesting thing, because I hear her passion, but I tend to think we've got to help men see the way she's seeing it.
I think so.
The way you're seeing it, I've seen it. That's how women see it. I don't even see it that way.
Oh, you don't?
I do not see it that way. So I'm going to be honest. When people come at you like that, this is what I tell people. I say men do susu standing up, women squatting. Nobody fights.
We're doing the
that.
same thing, but differently.
But then every other thing want to do the same. I'm humble, you be humble. No, I tend to feel that there's also certain makeup in the men, all right? A DNA. Because some of these things you talk about, they're not African problems. No. They cut across. Men don't seek health, attention and stuff like that. Some of those things cut across. So it almost seems to me that however much we intensely talk about it, until we can open that box and help a man see, family means this, family means that. There's this section which can be yours. You can be macho in this section. It's not weakening you by being this. We will talk until the cows come home. All right? We talk about leadership. And men have been said to be, they're excellent out there in the workplaces. They're not as good at home. Do you know why? Men look at the home as a den. They come to chill. And because we're also very territorial, we talked about animals which do like this. He comes there, that's his territory. Don't ask him about his work. He comes home, she referred to the issue of a palace, it's your kingdom. And I've talked to people and started realizing, if people looked at their place as a kingdom, they'd care for it more. protect it more than if they look at it as the woman's domain. Let's go to national media. You're into the media. When they're reporting news, they say women and children. Have you noticed? Yeah. Women and children. So even out there, they keep on saying, oh, the weaker ones went down, or the weak. No. So there's so many things that we've got to help our children learn how to distill. Yeah. A man who's going to do good in the home, what I see from this reality check is that we're telling the person, get a mindset change. Yeah. Get a mindset change.
Yeah. That's the reality we are facing. We have very few minutes, and I wanted you both in your parting shots to comment on the role of finances in readiness for marriage, in demonstrating readiness for marriage.
Demonstrating readiness for marriage.
How much is enough? Because usually men will hold on to, I'm not ready financially because they must buy a plot of land, I want to build, I want to, and then also create extra passive income. And that's a plan that's probably going to take another 15 years. Yeah. Meanwhile, they are staying with someone's daughter, no introduction, you've not visited parents, and it's like, we are not ready.
Yeah. You see, it's interesting that you said that they're saying somebody's daughter. I talked to somebody who was in a situation like that. I said, get out. This particular individual wanted to finish a block of flats. All right? Okay. I said, even if you start in that way, so I'll be honest, there is no enough money. Okay. All right? And why do I mean that? We put money at the forefront, and men think that that's the issue that they bring into marriage. You've heard men who say, that one doesn't need me. Have you heard that expression? Because the other person needs the money. So one time I was talking to a man, I said, why do you say that, man? Why do you say that? I'm not saying that I cannot control this one. All right? So money, the Bible says, Deuteronomy 8:18, for it is the Lord who gives ability to make wealth. May I think, and in one of those episodes, you talked about money, isn't it? You did, you talked about money, and people feel a man's money is our money and whatever. Once you've got that mindset, doesn't matter how much money you have, or whether you don't have any money. It's a wrong foundation. Yeah. Yeah. I think that if the person's got some of these social skills, 21st century skills that she's talking about, if you need to know that we'll talk, we'll work together, then we shall get married. I've helped people who, the moment that guy got more money, he got another woman. So the rate at which we think about this money thing is where the problem is. Some of the villages, those guys don't have money. And they do good marriages. So the urbanite has made it look like money is a key thing. And then there's never a universally defined amount which is enough. I told you I had my worries. So me, when I go take a job, I thought this one is sufficient. And many men need to know that a woman will take you and work with you as long as you're going to work together, irrespective of the amount of money. But I want the men also to know, this way I turn this side, that those of you who feel that money is what makes the marriage, please understand you're being narcissistic, and you basically put a territory around where you say, because I've made the money, I call the shots. That does not make marriage. So for me, I'd basically say, this equation of, one time I was talking to young people, they're about 20s, and they said, if you don't have money, don't do romance, or things like that. That's the young girls thinking. For men who think that money is everything, it so happens that you cannot see your future. The money might play a significant thing now. 7 years down the road, COVID has come, you don't have money. I've seen men getting depressed because they don't have money. And one of the episodes I recall, you talked a little bit about it as well. And then those same people, should the woman give them pocket money to run the home, to feel whatever, then it doesn't want it. You have also overrated money. So to be honest, am I going old school? I basically say money has no... There's a song by Tina Turner many years ago, What Has Love Got to Do With It? I would say, what has money got to do with it? I think, I've also struggled with people discuss joint accounts, don't account, whatever. I think joint decision making is what I'd go for. And they told at the beginning I'm a realist. I've seen too much pain to even put anything on money.
I know.
All right? I think what we need to do is to have a rethink about what we're doing about this money thing. If you and your spouse are not talking, doesn't matter how much money you have. She's going to cheat some, build a house. You're going to do the same. Joint decision making. So for me, sister, money, I rank it really low.
And coming from you, coming from a guy.
I'm telling you, I've seen too much.
You've seen too much. Yeah.
The men who think they had it, and then pain.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't want you to go down that path. And I feel part of reality check is a reality check.
Yeah.
Check whether what you're believing still holds water. Thank you.
Yeah, money and readiness, right? I think I'll be fair to men and be in their place, David. And the pressure.
What do you mean fair to men? You're making me look like I'm being unfair. Just say,
Not
money
really.
has some role. It's a small role.
No, I
have it for wedding and whatever, but don't
yes.
ever splash it 90 million on
Yes.
decoration that I'm now ready.
I know that it's sad.
Yeah.
And actually, what you have talked about, I'm not contradicting you, because there is so much pressure that has been put on men as they start marriages. Like, you have to prove yourself. Let's be realistic. Like in our society here, if a man has to start a marriage, they have to pay bride price. I know it's different in different homes. I've ever talked about it. And some families are asking for 20 million and then another 6 cows and another something else. And so that we can't throw it in the background and assume that it doesn't affect men and readiness. And actually, we talked about it when we were discussing the issue of cohabitation, that it's partly a reason why most men say, let's just be together as I get ready. Of course, they get sidetracked. And I'm not a fan of
Neither
I
am I.
don't support
Cohabitation. I think it's
by all means. But
easy way out,
I'm just acknowledging it as a factor. As she mentioned, is it an issue in readiness? Yes. And then, of course, this whole pressure of if I have to prove that I'm ready for this whole platform called marriage, then I have to have the resources. But I'm so glad David has given that assurance. And let me bring in the women's perspective. A woman with a good head on their shoulders loves a man who is in charge, who is ready for the responsibility of leadership in a family. And most women are actually looking for a man they can work with to build.
Exactly.
Because
Exactly.
you see, when you start marriage, it's a building project.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have all the resources for now to do the building.
Yeah.
But for you to start. And so some women actually come in, they are glad to give their resources and to have you and start. But then men are hung up in those stereotypes of I have to prove myself. So if you ask me, self-proof from the standpoint of finances can be very detrimental.
Yeah.
And especially when we are dealing with money. Money is a moving part. So you
Repeat that.
Yes, money is a moving part.
Today you'll have it, tomorrow you'll not.
When Rachel
And then what happens?
Exactly. When Rachel was asking how much money would you even talk about? How much money is much? How much money is enough? This is subjective. This is relative. And so we need to have a good attitude attached to money.
Correct.
And that's when we make money our servant, not our master.
Yeah.
Money can be a very bad master. That's why it tells people, now get another one, now get this, now it's still here, now. So we need to have a good content attitude, where you look at money and as something that is servicing your life, but not something that should rule you.
Yeah.
So men starting, once again, Rachel, these are my parting shots. Start a family. If you don't have enough finances to do a wedding like David is, do yours. Do yours. And men succumb to peer pressure. I have to invite 1,000 guests like the other one. I have to do this.
No, go to Administrator General.
Yes. And also be you see how humility comes in. If you can't afford certain things, be true to your, is it true? Be you.
Yeah.
And let your partner, don't become something else. Don't push out a facade or something that you want someone else to believe. It's not uncommon for men to lie and say, oh, I work here, yes, I'm expecting a deal, and then it puts you on so much pressure. No, if you have these finances, work with your partner and say, we can't afford this marriage and this kind of wedding. Then if we can't start, then maybe I cannot. But this is what I have.
Then wait.
And wait. Thank you both for this wonderful discussion. And I think, it's one of those that you can never really exhaust, because there's a lot of social constructs, cultural constructs, yes, that we could decipher or dissect on this, on this platform, to try and get to the bottom of why maybe men are the way they are in their marriages, or why they are the way they are in their homes, and what can be done to create, I mean, use the word better products, but you understand what I'm saying.
Men and women, right?
Yeah, men and women, yeah, but today we're talking about
so worried about
Just asking.
Today we're talking about men,
be sure.
and readiness for marriage. And I hope this episode has given you some insight, especially the women, when you're sporting men, like what are the things to look out for.
And for the men, put their husbands on pressure so much.
Yes, not to put your partners on pressure. So thank you for watching. Please forgive the noise in the background. It is distracting. We do hope that this episode has been helpful. Let us know what has stood out for you in our comment section. We love hearing from you. We'll be back again next week with another conversation right here on Reality Check. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, bye-bye.